I'm there with you in heaven. What a wondrous joy will be, gathered with the angel chorus, standing by the glassy sea. Such a thought is hard to fathom, in the presence of my King, and with countless ones forgiven, gathered round the throne to sing glory and honor. Worthy is the Lamb. Cannot express it, all the ways you reign supreme. Even death can't hold the vastness, nor approach this awesome thing. 'Cause you are God, and to your glory we will worship and abide. In your presence there forever, we'll be happy to reside. Glory and honor, worthy is the Lamb. Glory and honor, worthy is the Lamb.
Good morning. We are getting close to the end of this series of lessons, and I will put in a plug again. We've got a couple of things in the works for follow-up stuff, but if there are some things that you think would be particularly enjoyable and things you would like to study, let us know. Jerry's kind of heads that up mostly, but let us know what you would like to study, and we can at least start working on it when we are able to get some things together. We'll try to do something that is interesting and interesting to you that you'd want to study.
Wow, I'm doing the Old Testament in
Yeah, that's one of the ones. We've got another one coming too. What?
10 weeks.
In 10 weeks? That's good. That's moving through it. This morning, our title is Put Some Salt on Your Table. As far as I know, that is not a song. A lot of his lessons titles have been, but this is, it was interesting because as Edward Robinson's the guy who wrote the book that I had kind of based these on, his thought process as he went through this to this verse was significantly different than mine. So we're going to get kind of a double dose lesson. I will present what some of the things he had, and then I'll swing to things that came to my mind as well. We're going to take a look at Colossians chapter 4, verse 6 is where we'll start. It says, and you can see where the title comes from, let your speech always be with grace as though seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. Mr. Robinson springboards from that verse into talking amongst family, and he uses SALT as is it an acronym where you have 4 words that start with S-A-L-T? He uses one of those as he takes a look at how our speech should be seasoned with grace and as though seasoned with salt. There is very clear evidence showing that families who eat together have a large benefit over those who don't. I think it used to be a lot more common that the family would sit down around the table and spend time together at meals. Now, I think a lot of families don't do that. Everybody grabs your food and goes to where you want to be, and I'm ready to eat now. I'll sit and eat, and the next person will come in and eat later, or sit in front of the TV, or all kinds of things that people do that are not conducive to building relationships. Evidence shows that families who have meals together are healthier and stronger. Children make better grades. They eat healthier. They have closer relationships and better have the ability to resist negative peer pressure. And he uses that word SALT as an acronym to talk about how we can build relationships within the family. First of all, he says S is for sharing. Family time around the table is a great opportunity to share the events and news of the day. What were the ups and downs? It's also a great time to instill to our children life lessons. It's important to be able to sit down and talk to somebody, especially kids, and most of us are past the stage of having kids at the table, unless maybe grandkids or great-grandkids. But, and I'll address that more for this group in a little bit too, but when we are with children, around the table is a good time to teach. And no doubt they'll roll their eyes when you say, well, back in my day, we did such and such. But there are lessons to be learned from back in our day. And to tell you the truth, probably a lot of them kind of like hearing about what it was like in the good old days. And as they get older, they'll like that even more and more as it goes. Teach them that God is the key to success in life. Use this time to share knowledge and wisdom in your experiences. Often the kids may not be used to sitting around the table and being thankful for their food. That's one of the times in the day that it's very easy and convenient to offer up a prayer and of thanksgiving. And most of the time, I would think, probably when people don't sit down at a table, somebody may, do a little prayer to themselves, but seldom do people spend very much time praying when you're eating by yourself, I think. Psalm 37:25 says, I have been young and now I am old. Some of us understand that. Yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken or his descendants begging bread. We have some experience that is worth sharing. And even through the rolled eyes or not again or, whatever the comments may be, there are some things that are worth them hearing, I think. Yeah.
I see, especially eating out, couples both on their telephones.
All the time.
I mean, that is just atrocious to me. That says, you're not important to me, not as important as that phone. And so, I think that's true of children too. If children are now in the technological sphere much more than we were as kids.
Absolutely.
And so they're likely to be on a tablet or a phone, and that needs to be put down. And we need that time. And actually, it's not just sharing specifics, but it's sharing attitudes. I think that's more important than just sharing specific things, is the attitude that you have toward each other. And
yeah, you are important to me, and I'm going to listen to what you say. Yeah.
There's empirical research that shows, it's a strange place to find it, but shows that people, the general public, desire that even though they don't practice it.
I don't doubt, yes.
There are two TV shows. One was Duck Dynasty. I never really got into that, even though I know the family and
Yep.
through White's Ferry Road and all that. But the thing that people kept mentioning is why they kept tuning in was because it always ended with the family sitting around a table together, eating a meal and having a prayer.
Yep.
Now the other is about as far opposite of what Duck Dynasty was all about, was Blue Bloods. It was on for several years. And they always had a family meal. Well, that was very difficult and costly to film. So they did research to see, can we get rid of this? And the research they did with their audience was that was the main reason many of the people were tuning in.
Interesting. Yeah.
So they decided to spend the money.
They continued it. I didn't watch, I know both the shows. I didn't watch either one. But yes, that anyway, sharing the time around the table is important for sharing. Also affirming. It is very common for people to feel like they have been beat down. Family time should be a time of affirmation. Each family member should leave the table knowing that they are someone special. Letting somebody know you are loved, and if you got bullied at school, that they're the ones that are wrong. It's not that you are to this or to that, or they're jealous because you make good grades, because you study, because they're too late, whatever it is, and probably putting somebody else down is not the way to approach that. But it's outsiders sometimes will find a way to cut us down, to make us feel less than what we are. And around the table is a time of affirmation, to let people know that they are important, that they are loved. Each family should leave the table knowing that they're special. Lessons are taught to young families, but sometimes older ones of us need to remember that too. If you've been married for 40 years or 20 or 60 or whatever the case is, and the children are gone, sometimes it's easy to put that marriage and that relationship and that time to talk kind of on cruise control, and we're used to each other. I know what you're going to do and you know what I'm going to say, and we kind of forego some of it and we don't sit and practice. So one of the things for this lesson is I challenge us to share and affirm, and these other two that we'll get to, that with each other, even if we have been married, we've seen our 50th anniversary or whatever, it's worth doing even for the older ones of us. Proverbs 16:24, pleasant words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. It's nice to have something nice to hear. Far too often we hear complaints. Oh man, this is what happened to me today. And we hear it and we piggyback on the last one for the next one. Instead of, I am sorry that was rough for you. Let's make it better this evening, or whatever it might be. It's too easy to piggyback on the negative and keep it rolling until it becomes a massive snowball. Yeah.
Years ago when I was a teenager, I had a little radio at my bedside, and I would listen to the Grand Ole Opry.
Yep.
And their last song was "God Be With You Till We Meet Again," which is an affirmation, and that was one of the things that they used in the Grand Ole Opry in that time to solidify their spot.
Interesting. That would be good if they, I don't know if they still do it or not, but it would be good if they did. We'll come back to this verse again later, probably too, Ephesians 4:29. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. Most of us are familiar with that verse pretty well. Practicing it and letting that come naturally is a wonderful skill to have. L is listening and learning. Communication is only effective when we listen to what's being said. In grad school, I took counseling classes, and active listening and really listening is a skill. It's not, most of the time when somebody makes a statement to us, before we hear the end of the sentence, we're formulating our response. We have something to say to what their first part of their sentence was, and learning the skill of listening is a good thing. Yes?
Body language is as important as what is said.
Yeah, body language is much harder to lie with, for sure. James 1:19, this you know, my beloved brethren, based on what he had said before, but everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Listen, and that's one of the things that we need to practice and work on a little bit more. And T is transmitting. Family table time is a great place to start transmitting family values. It is essential that we pass God's values on to our children and our children's children. Again, most of us don't have kids around the table day in and day out. Occasionally we'll have grandkids, great-grandkids, and so forth. And they don't want to be preached to, probably. Maybe they need it. Maybe they're pretty good kids anyway, but we need to use the opportunity to pass lessons, godly lessons, and about God onto them. I don't know what the statistics are, but I know we lose so many young people in the church. Primarily, the big fall off is when they go off to college. They no longer have someone saying, get up, let's go. And they, fortunately, some of them return and come back and become good, faithful Christians. But man, a ton of them leave when they leave home. And those lessons need to be taught from when they're little to maybe when they're still adults. And they don't have to be nagging lessons, but affirming lessons. And let them know you're loved and you're missed, and if you get a chance, I'll be looking for you Sunday, or whatever the message needs to be. And we will talk in the second half about how to approach people within the family and those without. Deuteronomy 6:7, talking about this, transmitting values. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. One of my good friends here at C4 talks often about going to his grandparents' house, and that's what made him, as you know, in his 80s now, to be the man he is now, because of what he learned at his grandparents' house as a kid back in the 50s or whenever it was. And it can be the same in the 20s with our kids and grandkids. Any other thoughts on that? I will say, somebody read, if you would, 2 Kings 2:19 to 22. If you can get to that. 2 Kings 2:19 to 22. And this is, to do with this lesson, a little bit of a play on words, but it is, when we hear about the salt that is in this story, it's the kind of salt we need in our homes when we communicate with each other. 2 Kings 2:19 to 22.
One day the people of Jericho said, Elisha, you can see that our city is in a good spot, but the water from our spring is so bad that it even keeps our crops from growing. He replied, put some salt in a new bowl and bring it to me. They brought him the bowl of salt, and he carried it to the spring. He threw the salt into the water and said, the Lord has made this water pure again. From now on you will be able to grow crops, and no one will starve. The water has been fine ever since, just as Elisha said.
All right. The salt that he put into that water purified the water from then till, to this day, it says in my translation, and ever since. Somewhat of a play on words as far as this lesson goes, but putting something in that purifies what's coming out. Yeah.
We're a little off track, but right following that is when he goes up and the kids start mocking him about his bald head, and he attacks them with bear.
Yes. Yes. Go Elisha. No. The point is, sometimes we need to turn off the TV. We need to put down the cell phone, like Bill mentioned. We need to turn off the computer, and we need to talk. We need to communicate face to face. If we're not face to face, maybe that's the time to pick up the phone to talk and have communication and let each other know these things, the sharing and so forth. The table is a great time to do that, a great time to talk to each other, and a great time to pray, like I mentioned before. Prayer of thanksgiving reminds us that God is the giver of all good gifts and is the great example for those who are trying to develop a relationship with God. That is kind of what Mr. Robinson had to say about this verse in his book. However, when I read that verse, and let's go back. Let's see if I've got it on here. I'm going to go back and read Colossians chapter 4, and I'm going to go all the way back to verse 2 and read through 6. It says, devote yourselves to prayer, keeping alert in it with an attitude of thanksgiving, praying at the same time for us as well, that God will open to us a door for the word, so that we may speak forth the mystery of Christ, for which I have also been in prison, that I may make it clear in the way that I ought to speak. Conduct yourselves with wisdom toward outsiders, making the most of every opportunity. Then let your speech always be seasoned with grace, as though seasoned with salt, so that you'll know how you should respond to each person. When I go back and read that verse in context, I am thinking more of how we approach and how we talk to other people, whether it be friends, whether it be family, or especially in this case, whether it be outsiders, people that we maybe don't even know, not even acquaintances of ours. And it's important that we learn how to speak to somebody kindly and not, people you don't know, it's pretty easy. There's not a whole lot to lose when you talk to them ugly. And Paul is saying that it's important how we talk to people. So verse 5. Christian living is important not only in regard to our relationships with God and within the church, but also in the examples set before the world. Paul gives them 4 guidelines. The first one is conduct yourself with wisdom toward outsiders. Be nice to people. And it's not wise for many reasons to be a jerk to people. What goes around comes around might be one of the things you could say. It's not a good Christian example, surely. If you're a jerk to somebody and then they find out, yes, you're a Christian, and if they know that you come to C4 or whatever and say, man, what do they teach there? And it makes a difference. He's telling them to walk in an upright way or behave well toward non-Christians. 1 Corinthians 10:32. Do not offend Jews or Greeks or the church of God. Don't be offensive to other people. So, can somebody read Philippians 2:15 if someone has that? As somebody's looking up Philippians 2:15, I will say, conduct yourself with wisdom toward outsiders. That wisdom, there's a couple places it talks about where wisdom comes from. James 1 verses 5 and 6 talks about you ask God for wisdom, and He will give to you. And also Colossians 1:9 talks about being filled with the knowledge that is revealed in God, that God has revealed to us. Does somebody have Philippians 2:15?
Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault in a crooked and depraved generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe.
Okay. Blameless and innocent. Christian lives should be carefully ordered. We ought not to be a mess, in my opinion. And they should be morally pure, beautiful, good. We ought to be examples to those around us. And many of you have more experience in life than I have. The experience I have had is when you act morally right, people are good with that. They appreciate that. They seldom fight back when you do something that's right and good. Second one is make the most of the opportunity. The opportunity is not a specific time. Say, okay, here's my opportunity, I'll do it now. But opportunity is a wide range of time. There is always basically an opportunity to do something that's good. Making the most is a phrase from the marketplace. It could be translated as redeem, or literally it means to buy up. Ephesians 5:16 and Galatians 3:13 also talk about that word and how it can be used. Opportunity, like it says, is not a specific time, but a period of time. And Christians should not be idle, but use every opportunity for service to Jesus. In John chapter 9, verse 4, it says, we must carry out the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. Our opportunity is now. There will be a time when we don't have the opportunity anymore, whether it's that we're not here anymore or whether we're not able to get out and use some of those opportunities the way that we might be able to now. And God forbid it would be that you have not used the opportunity and now no one will listen to you because you have been a poor example in the past. Any other thoughts on making the most of the opportunity? Like I said, making the most is redeem, or to buy it up, or to make full use of it. Yes.
When Jesus was in contact with the woman at the well, she would have, to a Jew, she would have been an outcast.
As a Samaritan, yes.
And they would have never even spoken to one another. I mean, and so when he spoke to her and engaged her in a relationship, then things really tumbled into place when his disciples came back. They said, "What in the world are you doing here talking to this lady?" and he said, "The harvest is white unto harvest." Okay?
Yeah.
It's ready to be done.
Yeah. Here's somebody that's ready to listen.
He recognized that and taught his disciples, or his apostles, by example. And the whole village where she was from came back, and apparently Jesus was with the people from that village for 2 or 3 days. I mean, he had contact with the whole village just because he had an interaction with somebody that he wasn't even supposed to talk to.
A little bit of an aside from that story. That's a good story, a good example of someone talking to somebody where they will approach you and listen. But he also, being nice to somebody does not always necessarily mean that you are a pushover, or that you will not face the difficult subjects. Sometimes people need to hear that's not okay. And it's not, for a lot of us, I think, me at least, it's not easy to tell somebody that's not okay. I'm not a confrontated, well, sometimes driving, but generally when I'm talking to somebody, I don't like confrontation. I like people to get along, and I like people to be okay. We sit at the coffee shops in the morning, and sometimes people rise up, and I'm thinking, okay, what else can we talk about sometimes? Or it's, I don't like that. However, there is a time to say, no, this, and so forth. Anyway. Number 3, let your speech always be with grace, as though seasoned with salt. This is kind of where we started. Paul refers to here to the words used to communicate the message, not necessarily the message. There is a way to speak nicely to people with what needs to be said. Some people aren't going to like the message. Some people don't want to be told you are a sinner and you need to do something to make yourself right with God. They don't want to hear that. And it's not the message that we need to soften to make people like it. It's the way we say it that needs to make it palatable to people. And then it's up to them how they react. Paul said, Ephesians 4:15, speak the truth in love. We don't back off the truth, we speak it in love. Back to Ephesians 4:29 again, let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth, but if there is any good word for edification according to the need of the moment, say that, so that it will give grace to those who hear. Talk nice. And sometimes much harder to say than harder to do than for me to stand up here and say it. I've got work to do, and I'm challenging y'all. Yes?
I did student teaching at Ennis High School, and these were high school seniors, and they were supposed to write a paper about their summer job. And almost every one of them hated it, because people that, they bagged groceries, or they worked at McDonald's, those were their kind of jobs. And the people were, rude to them and ugly to them. And I thought, every one of those kids, that was their experience from their summer job. And then you hear about You know, Sunday is the day frequently that people in restaurants hate because all these church people come in. And these church people are short-tempered and they're poor tempers. And I think both of, you know, we need to treat the waitress or the bag boy or whoever it is as see them as a child of God. And when we get busy and get irritated by they're not as fast or as competent or as they made a mistake or something, you know, but for Sunday to be, you know, a bad day for people that work in restaurants should be totally the other way.
Yeah, yeah.
But too, they're probably singling out one instance and then totally ignoring the 10 people that came in and, you know, treated them very nice and respectful and left them a good tip and were happy. And
That's where the saying, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch comes from, probably.
But
yeah.
to then take that one person and say, oh, well, all these church people are like this is a trait
Not
of Satan,
right.
I think.
Yeah, could
You
be.
know,
Yeah.
I have experience being that person that's supposed to provide a service. In fact, being in charge of and running an operation whose job was to serve a bunch of people who are not known for being appreciative and generous and so forth. We were the Learning Resource Center. We were the production facility in a fairly large college situation. And part of my job was to teach our people how to turn the attitudes of the people that came in from negative to positive. And and you do that by how you treat them. You do not respond to them in turn. If they come in griping and pushing and demanding and so forth, you go out of your way to be nice and conciliatory and providing them what they need. Then when they come in and ask for something that just cannot be done, they're a whole lot more likely to listen to you.
Yeah. That's where you're describing that reminds me some of the training at Delta Airlines, especially for gate agents, when people have missed their flights and whatever and become irate, and you settle down the situation some, and the joke was, yes sir, we'll take care of that, but his bag does not make it to where he's going, kind of thing. So next lesson, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. The Colossians should keep in mind good timing, the right message for the audience, the possible impact on the hearers, and the faithfulness to the truth. We are not all evangelists, but each of us should be prepared to respond in a meaningful and polite way in every setting. A lot of us certainly don't consider ourselves evangelists, and maybe we think, I couldn't even stand up and do this. I can't teach a class or whatever. But somebody someday will ask you something to do with your spiritual life, and we need to have enough, whether it's, I don't know, but I'll find somebody who does, but in a kind, polite, quick way, that we can answer questions that come to us. 1 Peter 3:15, Peter says, always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is within you, but with gentleness and respect. That's not too much to ask. You know, and talking about like what Jerry was saying, it's easy to say, well, that's his job. You know, I'd have him do his job, but our job is to treat people with gentleness and respect. So we all have a job to do in that case. Summary, Christians are to, based on what Paul is talking to the Colossians, Christians are to watch and pray and be alert in devoted prayer. He's saying, pray in thankfulness and pray also for us. He's saying include prayers for missionaries. Paul didn't ask for money or gifts or an easier life, but he asked for an open door. Pray that we'll have somebody to talk to. We're out here in the mission field. Pray that God gives us some kind of hopefully fertile ground. God will have the harvest. Third thing, act properly toward non-Christians. Our greatest strength as Christians comes from being Christ-like in our lives. Philippians 2:14 through the beginning of 16 says, do all things without grumbling or disputing, so that you will prove yourselves to be blameless and innocent, children of God, above reproach in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation that we read earlier, among whom you appear as lights in the world, holding fast the word of life, so that in the day of Christ you will have reason to glory, because I did not run in vain or toil in vain. It seems to be, from the many verses we've read today, it's a pretty persistent theme. Treat people kindly, with respect, gentle, and so forth. And finally, make sure our speech is helpful to those who hear. We must speak the truth in love, answer with gentleness and reverence. Questions, thoughts, ideas of how to do this better. It's a whole lot. It's pretty easy for me to put a slide together and say, do this. If you know ways to make that happen, speak up. Yes.
You cannot give what you do not have. And I think that means that as a Christian, we should be in the Word. We should be concerned for others. And we should be in our prayer life very active. There are all sorts of things that we can do to help our spiritual life. But we should be ready. Be able to give. Because if you're not ready to give, you won't give.
Yep.
There are people who sets wonderful examples. And we've got people in our families that it comes naturally to. Would speak to a doorpost if they, has this personality to talk to anybody.
Must be nice.
Welcome anybody and make, if you eat at the same restaurant frequently, know the wait people and know their names and know about their children and there's some of us that don't have that gift. But by watching those that do, we can get better at it. We can pay more attention than ordinarily we would. And I think that's a active step we can take. Who do we know in our social group, in our family, that these things come naturally to? And can we emulate that a little bit? Can we hang out with them and watch and
people who are really good at it are impressive. Now, some people are, a lot better than me. A lot of people are a whole lot better than me, but people who are really good at that are something to see. It's pretty neat to watch. Yeah.
I think you want to be careful not to go too far the other way of just being, like it says in Luke, it says the father will be divided against the son, and the son against the father, and the mother against the daughter, and so on and so forth. And what it's saying is you're going to stand up for what's right, and you're going to point out, things that are wrong, stand up for the truth, even if it means going against what, your family says or whatever. You're going to do what the Lord said.
Yeah, I mean, there will be times of battle, and we need to not shy from the truth or not skip part of the truth because it's more palatable to somebody. But we do speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in love and in reverence and so forth.
But even just speaking the truth in love will make them
Some
angry
people don't want to hear the truth, no doubt. I hope. Well, some weeks I feel like I've done better than other weeks, but this to me, in my life at least, is one of those things that I can practice. I can work on this week, trying to be better with how I talk to people, how I communicate with people, how I bring the truth up. I mean, it's easy to say, oh man, what a day this is, and beautiful weather, and go Rangers, and all that kind of stuff. That's not what we're talking about. It's not talking about fluff. It's talking about the truth, the important things that we need to bring up in our conversation. And that, for me, certainly is a challenge, and if it is for you, let's work on that some this week. Next week, don't break my heart. I don't think that's from Achy Breaky Heart. I don't know. And actually, we'll look into Philemon for that. That is 13 weeks for this. If we need to, there's 14 weeks in this quarter. If we need to come up with another one, we will, or we'll start something else after that. But don't break my heart for next time. Any other comments before we close today? Yeah.
I think probably most of us have experienced the fact that when we're in a group of people that sometimes are saying things that they shouldn't be saying, like cursing, for example, and they know you don't, and they're more careful not to.
Yeah,
I
no doubt.
Another incident when they were not supposed to be drinking beer, and I walked in and I thought this guy, I thought he was going to swallow the can and get rid of it. But when he shook my hand, it was ice cold. As I was telling. Anyway, our influence in a group makes a big difference.
Yeah. And if you are a person that is kind and they know what you stand for, and because you have said something, people don't disrespect you for that. A lot of times I think, I won't be part of the group or whatever. In my experience, at least, that has not been the case. I have never felt, and maybe I just don't care if I'm shunned or whatever, I've never felt shunned because of that. Our time is up. We'll meet again next week. Thank y'all.
I still